Hi, I'm Scott Wallis. I'm a consultant pharmacist and I work locally here with NAMI and also the local mental health centers. I want to speak to you for just a moment about mental illness in society. Violent behavior has many causes, but mentally ill patients are usually not violent. Now, having said that, I need to tell you, there is a minority of people out there who have mental illness that have severe enough and persistent enough mental illness after they stop taking their medications and resort to other drugs on street drugs and alcohol, they may turn violent. Why would they stop taking their medications? They stop taking their medications because of the side effects. Let me talk to you a little bit about antipsychotics. Antipsychotics probably has the worst side effect profile of all the drugs I have here in the pharmacy. They'll cause, when you try to stimulate serotonin levels in the brain, the central nervous system, it also increases the serotonin levels in the GI tract. So you're going to have nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. You're going to have some dizziness. You're going to have weight gain. If you're on Clozaril, you're going to gain 20 to 30 pounds in the first year, and you'll add pounds each and every year on which you're taking the Clozaril drug. You're going to have restlessness. It's called akathisia. It's where you feel like you're going to jump out of your skin. You can't stand up, you can't sit down, you can't be still wherever you're, and you never can get comfortable. It's going to cause you to have lack of sleep. It's going to cause an increased saliva production, so much so that when you go to bed and you have a dry pillow, when you wake up, you're going to have a completely soaked pillow. You're going to have tremors because of the stimulation to the nervous system because of the serotonin and the norepinephrine. And you're going to have some stiffness in the muscles. In the older antipsychotics, you're going to have grimaces in the face. You're going to have puckering of the mouth. You're going to have the tongue moving around. You're going to have stiffness in the neck and the muscles. Why would you continue taking these medications? Many of the ones that drop the medications can't take the side effects, and that's why they drop the medications. The good news is, with lowered levels of the drug, you have less side effects. As you go up in the higher doses, you're going to get more of the side effects. As they come out with a new atypical antipsychotics, they're finding out that they're having less and fewer side effects with each of those. And they're finding out also that you can dose less often and get the same results. So there's hope on the way. But right now, if you're at a high level doses of antipsychotic medications, you're suffering through many side effects, and therefore many of them drop off and drop the medications. A study was done in the middle 1990s, about 1995 or so, and found out that 47% of the schizophrenia patients meet all the criteria of drug abuse and dependence. Alcohol, followed by cocaine and cannabis, was a major drug that they would abuse, reported by the schizophrenics themselves. But they also found out through lab values that amphetamines was found in their blood too. So schizophrenics were abusing alcohol, number one, cocaine, amphetamines, and cannabis. Nicotine was not listed as one of the drugs abused, but of all the schizophrenic patients that I've run into, almost all of them smoke. And it's because the nicotine gives them a moment of peace, a moment of calmness in their lives. They are so restless from the akathisia that they can't sit still or stand up, and it gives them just that moment of calmness that they're looking for. And so they will be smoking one cigarette after the next. The problem is the nicotine reduces the level of antipsychotics in the blood because it causes the metabolism of the drugs itself. What triggers a psychosis? When you come across these people on the street, there are three triggers. One is mental illness itself. If they're off their medication, the mental illness will trigger a psychosis. Drugs and withdrawals from drugs can trigger a psychosis. And lastly is stress. If they're under high levels of stress, it can trigger a psychosis to them. And I don't know why, but somehow the mentally ill's threshold for psychosis is much lower than a normal person on the street. So if a person on the street took cocaine, he would not show a psychosis. Where if a mental ill patient take it, he might have a psychosis on the same level. What is psychosis? Psychosis is a mental state in which perception and thought is severely impaired. So when you approach these people on the street, don't try to talk to them logically about how their thinking is messed up. They're impaired mentally. They will not follow any source of logic whatsoever. A person having a psychotic episode will experience hallucinations, they will have delusional thinking, they will demonstrate personality changes, and they'll exhibit disorganized thinking. Now, what drugs on the street would cause psychoses? Number one is cocaine, amphetamines, PCP, and the hallucinogenic drugs such as LSD, along with the anticholinergic drugs such as scopolamine and atramine and Jimson weed, and they've also found out that antihistamines can trigger a psychosis in some of them. The downers, the barbiturates, the alcohol, the ones that depress you on the streets do not trigger psychoses. However, withdrawal from phenobarbital, withdrawal from the barbiturates and alcohol can produce psychoses and deliriums, and it can be a life-threatening situation. If you meet them on the street, you need to get them immediate attention, call the ambulance. Do any of the antipsychotic agents have drug abuse potential? In general, I'd say no because of the side effects of the drugs. However, Seroquel, also known in the streets as Quells, gives them a calming effect and a sedating effect, and that makes it abuse, gives it abuse potential, and also confers drug value out there on the streets. What they find out is they'll take the Seroquel, they will grind it up into a fine powder, and they'll inhale it intranasally, or they'll grind it up, they'll put it in water, they'll boil the water, they'll draw it into a syringe, and they'll inject it IV. There was a girl in the jail who was an addict, and she had asked for Seroquel so that she might sleep at night. The doctor wouldn't have prescribed to her, gave her 2 Seroquel 300 milligrams. She ground those up, she boiled them in the jailhouse, she drew it up into a syringe, and she gave herself a shot. They found her 12 hours later in her bunk, and when she came to, they asked her, you know, what the deal was, and she had told them what she had done and what she had taken. She had no euphoria, nothing from it, but she said it's the best night's sleep she had ever gotten. In my experience with the mentally ill patients, and especially with the schizophrenic patients, I've seen them have visual hallucinations. They come in and think there's people out there with severed heads laying all over the highways on their way in. I've had them where they've heard voices talking to them. One was paranoid and delusional, and she came in and introduced herself as Jesus Christ. I've had some that say that they have a listening device planted in their head, and that the agents from outside the country are coming to get him and anyone that he's linked with, and they're listening in to every moment. I've had some with, it's a classical parasites throughout their body. They can't get them off of them. They can't fumigate their apartment enough. They can't drink enough water, and they're worried about the tin cans and the tin poisoning them. I've come across many different states of psychoses and delusional patients out there, but I've only come across one that actually had any violence in him. He had dropped off his medications, and they call that decompensating when they drop off the medication or the medication stops working. And they're disheveled, they're unshaven, they're unkept, and they'll be restless, and they'll pace back and forth. And they'll be talking to themselves, and maybe talking and preaching to the parking lot. In this particular case, he struck a woman who was walking out of a Walgreens. It wasn't even here, but he struck her on the way out of Walgreens. That's the only case I've ever heard of any of my patients that I deal with ever striking anyone or being violent whatsoever. Most of them are gentle people, and they are usually insecure, and they have low self-esteem. They're looking for your approval. They're looking for your recognition. Many of them are depressed due to the disease they have, or they're depressed because they're having to take this medication that has all these side effects, or they're depressed because they know they aren't normal. All they want to be is like you and I. They want to have a girlfriend, they want to have a boyfriend, they want to have a family. They want to be able to hold down a job. They want to go out in society and be able to enjoy all the things that you and I enjoy each and every day. But they know that they can't. As you go out there on the streets and you respond to these people, I hope that you will treat them as people that are in need of medical attention. I'm sorry that you'll be most likely viewing the ones that are in that minority group that might have violence within them. But get them help. That's what you're there for. And be safe. Thank you for listening.